Honorable Speaker, sir, honorable members of Parliament, the honorable Prime Minister, the honorable Leader of the Opposition, honorable members of honorable Cabinet Ministers, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before this August House to discuss innovative and bold measures taken by the government of Fiji through the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change to mobilize the much needed climate finance for Fiji's development ambitions. The world needs $7.4 trillion each year through to 2030 to keep the fight against climate change alive. On this amount, Fiji requires 0.019% of US $1.4 billion per year to achieve its climate goals. Yet, despite our efforts, the gap between what we need and what we receive is widening. On that note, sir, I would like to thank you for edifying the SEED's voices in the recent 6th Speakers Conference in Geneva, and also highlighting our vulnerability and the reality of the climate crisis we face in SEED's. Mr. Speaker, sir, put it plainly, the international climate finance system is insufficient and irrational, particularly for small island nations like ours. We face complexity and bureaucracy when accessing global funds and managing bilateral flows, which only exacerbates our capacity constraints. This is an unfortunate irony, considering that the purpose of the funds we access is often to increase capacity and not strain it. There is no one-stop shop for the support we need. Instead, we are required to gather what we can from the range of sources through small-scale projects. Each project requires design, negotiation, recruitment, procurement, reporting, and management oversight. We navigate not only but multiple lengthy processes simultaneously. This overburdens our small teams, irrespective of the capacity, and detracts from time spent on existing operational responsibilities. Mr. Speaker, sir, unfortunately, previous government took pride in developing still national climate change plans, policies, and strategies, but failed to translate them into bankable, investment-ready projects that could yield benefits for Fijians who are on the front lines of climate change. Important questions, such as how much will cost to protect Fiji's low-lying coastal communities, with phased implementation of nature-based seawalls, on how much will it cost to electrify Fiji's rural community using 24/7 renewable, clean and reliable energy, are not only just being answered. The irony, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that this is happening a solid 9 years after Fiji held the COP23 presidency, and 10 years since we became the first country to do so. Needless to say, there needs to be more practical and decisiveness in our approaches in addressing climate change at the national level. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is now clear that the current geopolitical situation has further exacerbated the challenges we face. Interstate conflicts, changes in government policies, the rise of cost of living, rise in debt levels, and increased competition for financial resources are further limiting the already inadequate support available for developing countries confronting climate crisis. These dynamics and factors are major impediments to Fiji's ability to pursue our resilient development goals. Therefore, we cannot continue to play the victim card and lament the lack of climate finance flowing into the country. We must be masters of our destiny and chart a bold new course to unlock climate finance through a combination of domestic and international sources using innovative and capital stacking approaches. We are rethinking how we engage with development partners to unlock climate finance. We are playing to our strength. We know that as a national agency, the government plays a strong role in compelling bilateral, multilateral, and private finances to invest in Fiji's climate ambitions. However, we also know that the government agency are all ill-equipped to implement the large-scale transformative projects. This is a common problem faced by government across the developing world. So we are forming strategic alliances with proven development partners that implement projects on behalf of the government of Fiji as implementing partners for sector-specific trust funds. We are successfully piloting this approach to roll out 399 mini-grids across Fiji's rural and maritime communities through the Fiji government's Rural Electrification Trust Fund, or FREF in short. The implementation of the FREF has been outsourced to the United Nations Development Programme Multi-Country Office, which has since helped mobilize 16 million Fijian dollars to electrify 20 rural communities in the next 18 months. We have been able to do this because we quantified the need for 399 rural mini-grids costing just over $500 million Fijian dollars over the next 10 years, which is $50 million Fijian dollars per year. With this number in mind, we are aggressively mobilizing our development partners to raise resources for Fiji and let our communities reap the benefits. We plan to replicate this approach in other sectors, particularly in the blue economy space. I take this opportunity to thank the Government of Australia and New Zealand and the United Kingdom for supporting the innovation that is FREF. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are thinking big, bold, and ambitious when it comes to climate finance. This requires the government to shift its focus from small-scale climate projects to developing proposals for large-scale programs that can be supported through a range of financing sources, rather than developing single projects and concepts notes for small initiatives and pitching them to specific donors or funds. We need to begin developing long-term programs which can then attract the required support from the consortium of donors and funds. Mr. Speaker, sir, this also means thinking differently and interacting differently with the sources of finance we engage. It will require interministerial collaboration to develop a multi-sector pipeline of shovel-ready investment, focusing to a large degree of the adaptation priorities and resilience building efforts. We are demonstrating this by working with the Asian Development Bank and the United Nations Development Programme and the United Nations Capital Development Fund to develop a comprehensive sustainable waste management project for the Western Division of Fiji. This includes remediation of the Singatoka, Lautoka, Ba and Rakiraki dump sites into a material recycling facility and the creation of an entirely new sanitary landfill in the Western Division, with the MRFs serving as a collection point. This project is valued at over 100 million Fijian dollars, with a seed capital of $5 million already secured by the Fijian government in collaboration with the Global Fund for Coral Reefs and the joint SDG Fund of Finance remediation works at the current dump sites. We expect additional capital contributions from a combination of bilateral and multilateral sources in the near future. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Fijian financial sector holds over 2.5 billion Fijian dollars in liquidity. This shows that the money market can provide investment in Fiji's climate programs, provided that this investment demonstrates investor returns and the projects identified for funding are investment ready. Therefore, the Fijian private sector can play a key role in Fiji's climate finance journey through the creation of investment vehicles such as national thematic bonds. In 2017 and 2023, the government of Fiji mobilized a combined 120 million Fijian dollars from the Fijian capital market to the issuance of green and blue bonds, respectively. Both were oversubscribed, and the blue bond ended up being the cheapest bond issued by the Fijian government in recent history. These funds have been used to support climate-centric projects which would have never received private sector funding without a bond mechanism. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change is already working on an exciting pipeline of projects for a possible new blue and green bond issuance in the next financial year. The pipeline is expected to leverage thematic bond financing to unlock resources from multilateral and private funds such as the Green Climate Fund and the Bezos Fund. Finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, in light of the recent COP29 decision on the new collective quantified goal for climate finance, which the Honourable Minister for Finance had head the Fiji delegation in COP29 last year, where this goal was achieved, a clear legal clarity provided through the ICJ's advisory opinion, which the Honourable Attorney General delivered his statement yesterday, and the overarching international discussion on the need to reform development financing, Fiji must ramp up its engagement with international finances, funds, and treaty negotiations. Fiji has been selected by Brazil's COP30 presidency to join a high-level arrangement referred to as the, I quote, the Circle of Finance Ministers, unquote, which has been tasked in developing recommendations and strategies for improving climate finance performance and scaling up its impact. We must continue to amplify our voices within these critical platforms and ensure that we are positioned to directly inform new strategies and approaches. Mr. Speaker, sir, honourable members, the time for talk is over. We must act. I urge this august House to unite behind the whole of society approach in delivering climate action. Our effort will be rewarded if we are bold, pragmatic, and strategic in designing the activities and investment needed to counter the threats we face. If we can work together to think bigger, innovate, and develop proposals that are both evidence-based and transformational, we will increase our chances of securing the resources needed to turn these nationally driven ideas into reality. Mr. Speaker, sir, Fiji has been a global voice for climate justice. Now we must ensure that voice is translated into resources, action, and results. Fellow members of Parliament, let us rise to this challenge for our people, for our future, and for the generations to come. And I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I thank the Minister for Environment and Climate Change, the Honourable Bulitavu.